place that charges cover for UFC?
No, I wish they did so that we could listen to the freaking fight. So it ended up, what happened was this: when because we rushed because we didn't know who was going to be on the card or at how far into the card that we got to. So we sat down. Then we got super hungry because we hadn't eaten in so long. So we ordered the food, ate the food. Nachos was fine, and then realizing that we can't enjoy anything because we can't hear nothing. So then we were like, all right, we'll just leave and drive to Etobicoke. So we left mid-fight. We missed one of the fights.
No way.
And just drove to Etobicoke to watch the fight, which was the right thing to do. Plus, I got myself an apple pie.
Apple pie?
Pizza.
They're sweet.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm you kind of poo-poo Boston pizza a little bit, but now I understand and appreciate it's what it does for us.
Yeah. Also, pies, really super underrated. I know it's like yesteryear's dessert.
Yeah.
But pie is still very good, guys.
Yeah.
If you get a good pie with a good crust.
Yeah. Apple pie with vanilla.
I'm saying this like somebody's arguing with me, right? Like somebody's like, no, ice cream above all. I'm like, dude, pie, come on.
No, it's good.
How was your night?
Yeah.
I just headed out. I live downtown in like the Dundas West, Ossington area. So
nice. There's a bunch of comedy places down there.
There are, yeah. I think there's one bar. There's like a little dive bar and everything. Had a couple of people up, but nice. I didn't do too much. Went to like a little games bar. Had a couple of people come out and play a couple old school retro video games. I'm not like a really big video game guy.
Okay. What retro video games, my friend?
We were playing like Super Mario. They had one table set up with GTA, like one of the older GTAs.
Oh, wow.
I was like, this seems a little intense for a bar video game. Like,
I'm there for it. I would be there for it. That'd be so great.
It's like, well, we're not talking to you anymore. You're glued in a couple missions right now.
Oh man.
But yeah, I got Super Mario, I got Tetris, you got going, you got.
That's so fun though.
Yeah,
And
sweet.
at this age, you don't take it as seriously as a kid. You could just play it only for 6 hours at a time. And you're like, oh, I can just pick this up right now.
I don't know. Speak for yourself. I just bought that PS4.
Yeah, you did.
I am into Call of Duty. I can't wait for you guys to leave so I can start playing.
So funny.
Well, let's just wrap this up then.
Yeah.
That seems like a nice night though. Nice chill night.
Yeah. Can't complain, man. It was pretty...
Cody does cool things. That's what I learned about him. So we met at a product management course, and the first thing was he was limping. So I'm like, yo, there's my in.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to neg him because he's a dude, right? I can just talk to him. Just a regular.
Yeah, I got a little banged up before that. So
how'd you ask him? Yo, bro.
Why you limping, son?
Who'd you beat up, bro? Like, what'd you say?
How's the other guy?
Yeah. That was what was it, back in February?
Yeah.
I literally got tackled. I'm not joking. By my old CEO. I was working I work in a technology company. I was a product manager, and
I like it's all you need to say. Those guys are immature and they run companies.
yeah. And it was a pretty much like a harmless play, but I really destroyed my ankle. And I'm not much of like a soccer player. I like putting a little flair on, stuff like that. I have some European roots in me,
right.
but I was doing a little dancing around, and I guess maybe CEO is having enough of that. Gave me a little of a bump, and
Lawsuit.
really like spraining your ankle is far worse than breaking it. I wish I just broke it. It was brutal. I have photos on my phone, and it was really gross.
Changing colors, getting green and purple all over the place.
Yeah, like I felt like I could hear / feel like things like crickling and crackling, and it was someone shot me. That's basically how I was on the field. So I was definitely banged up, and my actual sport though is running. Like I love long distance running.
Nice.
So can't do that for a long time.
Yeah,
so.
you were kind of heartbroken about that.
I was. I was gearing up for a season. Like I really just started getting into it back in like early 2017. I just ran Scotiabank half marathon a couple of weekends ago.
How long was? Okay, got it. Half marathon. We good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. For the uninitiated.
Yeah.
How much is a half?
So it's 21.1 kilometers.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a great event. They obviously have the full marathon there. There's like 25,000 people running, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't really go into that race thinking I was planning on putting out like a PR or anything or PB. Just kind of went in for fun and ended up putting like 11 minutes off my time and stuff, and really just ran through it.
Wow, it's amazing.
Running is my medicine. It is completely medicinal for me.
When you like first started, did it immediately get that way, or like? Because
Was it medicine from day one?
Yeah, it definitely was not.
Because here's the thing, like I wonder if it's like that for everybody, because I do a lot of things and I run sometimes and I don't feel like how my buddies feel. My buddies will be like, I got a good run in, I'm a new person. My brother, like he'll just do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll go for a run, just come back sweaty.
Just hating life.
But
I hate it.
I never do it for like more than like twice a week, maybe.
Okay.
So but yeah, like did it feel like that immediately, or?
Yeah, it was definitely immediate. It was not immediate. It started off as like a project through my old company that I was working for, and I just met these really quirky artist runners and they're athlete artists. So I started running with them basically because it was a project, and I was not forced to do it, but it was something I wanted to take on. And I remember like accomplishing like my first 5K, which doesn't seem that exciting. But I was jazzed. I was like, oh, I take over the world. I got it all now. And then you move on to like the next like mileage, which is like a 10K. And that's when I was like, this is awesome. Now I'm running normally. I do like my long runs are anywhere from like 15 to 22 kilometers, 23 kilometers. I'm trying to ramp up, potentially thinking about the full marathon next year. And you actually hit that high. Like there's actually this runner's high.
Yeah.
And you don't know it you don't know when it's happening.
When does it kick in though?
What's it feel like?
Or do you retroactively know that
it's
feeling?
more like for me, I think it's different with everyone, but for me, it's, let's say I'm planning a 15K run, and you're getting kilometer 13, 14, and you're like, wait, where was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? You don't really know that you hit those. You just get into your stride, and I run no music. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't do. I run no music, just kind of my own dumb thoughts, and feeling my feet, hearing my feet hit the ground. That's the medicinal part for me, and it's pretty sweet. And then you get home and you're like, oh, I could eat anything I want, and I feel like a king of the world right now. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I still run in run groups. I don't just run solo all the time, but
and there's a lot of those in Toronto.
There's tons of them. Like I'm downtown west, so we got like some pretty cool run groups there.
So do you guys like run across the lake? Which I'm like, I love Toronto. I bicycle to my stand-up sets and stuff.
Yeah.
And I see people and they get in my way when I'm on a bicycle. So like with that said, you guys run across, like it's such a beautiful city. What are the best places to run?
Yeah, so the MGT, like the waterfront on the west end is pretty sweet. High Park is obviously great. High Park, you get a mix of like road, tons of hills and tons of trails. And you get like ponds and stuff, which is really, really sweet. There's also like there's popular like running routes within High Park, and like everything is like, okay, we know this loop is like 1.8 kilometers. Okay, we're gonna do a couple like tempo sets, which are like speed sessions essentially. We're gonna do a hill session. We're gonna do hill repeats, 5 repeats up this like 400-meter hill, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And
can you talk to me a little bit about that, like in terms of your body getting ready for this kind of stuff, or anybody?
Yeah.
How much of a pounding is it on the human body for somebody who's experienced injuries and?
Yeah, so I think running in itself, and I don't know the exact numbers, it's every like stride is like 2.5 times your body weight every time, and you're doing thousands of steps in a single run. So it takes a massive toll, and people think running is simple. There's nothing to it, and it's like the barrier to entry is very, very low. You need shoes, and you get out there and you start running. But it does take a massive toll, and early on in my running career, I was running and just getting hurt. Like my knees would just be banged up. And like, what's the deal? So I'd go to physio and literally trying to learn how to like run is a thing.
Did you have to retrain your running mechanics?
Yeah. So obviously I walk around with a Garmin, which is like every runner's staple, and it spits out a whole bunch of numbers for you while you're running. Something called cadence is essentially steps per minute. And I'm a taller guy. I'm about 6'1". My strides are pretty long, and so my cadence was low. My number was low, and I just literally had to bump up my steps by like 5.
So you shorten your steps.
Shorten my steps a little bit, shorten my stride.
What about where you land on your foot?
Yeah. So that'll inherently help where you land on your foot. Heel striking is not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely not the best thing. The closer you could bring your foot under your hips, the better. And it's just like ground reaction forces. You're overreaching, your body's working that much more, and it just takes a toll on your like tendons and joints and stuff. And I was battling with a very, very common IT band syndrome, which is like the dumbest muscle in your body, and it's just like a very, very long tendon. Yeah, everyone likes to foam roll it out, but there's like no research to back that helps. And it was literally just training my butt. Like literally, I just had like a no butt, no muscles going on there.
Right.
I sit at work quite a bit as a tech company, so literally just doing these small little Pilates exercises, like 15-20 minutes a day, a little bit of stretching, working on my cadence, and it's really changed my game big time.
So cadence, changed how you land on the feet.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why I'm finding this interesting is because I've tried running.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, didn't give it a good shake, but I definitely heel strike a fair bit.
Yeah.
And did not like the feeling in my knees afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I also like lift weights as well and do some other stuff. And I could, in my head, because, an anxious mind, I'm thinking about the cartilage. I'm like, how much of it have I used up as a result of this? Mm-hmm. And so the only running I ever do is hill sprints because you never touch your heel.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great. And it's easier and it's also faster because, I don't like cardio. But like, I was doing research on it and I was trying to watch YouTube videos of actual people training or like showing you how to run properly. And it's hard to learn from YouTube, specifically a mechanic. I kind of want someone to watch you run and be like, all right, listen, this is the way how you need to like change things up and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's what physios are doing now, right? They're throwing people on treadmills, filming them in slow motion and breaking like a little bit of their run and be like, okay, this is what we got here. This is what we're working with. This is what we need to tweak and stuff. And the shoe industry is not really helping that much. All these great running shoes are usually like pretty thick on the heel, which is supposed to like lessen the blow. So people are getting away with it, but eventually not. Eventually you start getting banged up.
So would you say that if you want to be able to fix that mechanic, maybe wear shoes that are more, because they have like minimalist running shoes as well now, which means that it'll hurt your heel if you're always heel striking. So it's kind of forcing you to run differently.
Yeah, that's basically what started that whole like toe shoe thing. You ever seen those guys?
Yeah, Vibram or whatever.
Yeah, there was a very famous like running book called Born to Run, and it's talking about this tribe in Mexico who are just like these elite long distance runners, but they don't compete. They just run for miles and miles and miles and miles every day, and they run like basically in sandals. They on all these crazy terrain. Yeah. And there's like, well, these guys never get hurt. How is this a thing? And North Americans and all these runners are running with these massive shoes, these big clunkers, and they're getting hurt. Yeah, so that book essentially kind of like kicked off a little bit of like I'll get fact checked here, but that kind of kicked off the whole minimalist shoe. And so a lot of people that do heel strike quite a bit, they move you to a smaller sole in the shoe, but you're gonna pay for it a little bit at the beginning because it's not gonna feel good. You're like basically you're a heel striker. You're gonna be heel striking on like this very minimal cushion shoe, and that's gonna kind of mentally train your body to be like, I got to get a little more forward here and get on like the balls of my feet.
The one with the toes look hilarious. Every time I see them, I'm like, wow.
It's hard not to look at it and like scuff almost.
Yeah, you're like, huh.
Yeah.
Like don't drop anything on your foot.
I'll probably quit running if I have to run in those shoes. I don't ever plan on doing it. Yeah.
But I hear tell it like it also strengthens your toes as well. Allows you to grip terrain a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, you're kind of selling it. You're making it sound cool, but I'll wait until after the winter.
Yep. One of the reasons I have a hard time running is that if I'm running alone, I will pretend to be chasing a man or a woman. Actually, no, a man. Yeah, sorry, I digressed immediately from that. I was trying to be gender neutral. I was like, no, go back to me.
Way.
Yeah.
Only run after men.
And chasing a person will make me like be into it, but it's hard for me to like just go out and run for, I don't know, unless I'm doing like a time trial. I got to be at this spot by this spot.
So there's an app idea here.
Oh yeah, I'm
right?
sure this
if you're
app
a runner,
exists.
If you're a runner, but you only want to draft someone running, right? You get the motivation because you apparently don't need music for you to have your motivation to run. You're just okay with running. You're like David Goggins. It's crazy.
Just cursing and saying shit.
Yeah. Like, you're
I carried the city. You're like, hey, calm down.
And Cody's external demeanor is very calm. Inside is just like a hurricane of swear words. And then you just sign up. Right, and essentially you're like, look, you're the type of person that needs to chase someone, and Kody over here who can already like a pretty good pace.
Yep,
that's it. Would you say that you would be motivated by someone running after you, like a brown guy who looks like he's a little upset?
Wow. I like it.
Yeah, maybe a little more motivation there. Yeah.
That would be, I was literally thinking maybe it would be a person that would be like a ghost runner, but in front of you, you have to keep up with them.
Yeah.
But a crazy person behind you with like, just saying crazy things in a pipe. That's another way to motivate. Like carrot or the stick. Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
I think anyone who's not really into running or maybe might want to get into like running or doing long distance sports, just go to a marathon and just watch the finish line and just watch people grind out those last like 500 meters, 1 kilometer to the end. And it's the face of like anguish and pain and then complete joy once they cross that finish line. It's like, damn, that's cool. And it's a lot of it's mental. Like I've never run the full marathon. My partner is a marathon runner. But it's like the race really starts after like kilometer 30. And that's like, it's basically an eternal, kilometer 30. It's insane. And
for me, it starts with the idea of maybe.
Me and my brother are always like, let's run one. And we'll say it's about 5Ks. And we never even muster up the energy to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like it used to be something I could do after waking up as a kid. I could just wake up and run a ton in Texas. And here now I'm like, I need to stretch for an hour. Yeah. My body it has a lot of work to do before it could run that far.
Yeah, and it's like strength training, right? Like, and I know you're into mixed martial arts as well. And there's a lot of like warm up period before you actually do your event or do your actual workout itself. And that warm up period is almost just as important as the actual execution of your exercise or your work or whatever you're doing.
All right, old man here. How long do you warm up for? And have you figured out, like, over time you figured out a very specific routine that works for you, or do you kind of like change it up every once in a while?
Yeah, I have so Sundays or like the weekends, but typically Sundays are notorious for, let's say, the long runs. Like that's just like the traditional thing. That's where you put your long run in, and it's always the same meal in the morning, same amount of water, same amount of coffee, and same warm up routine. And it's mine. I would say, man, it's like probably like 10, no more than 10 minutes. Now that it's getting a little colder out, obviously I run outside. I'll run outside all year round. Doesn't matter if it's minus 20 degrees Celsius, I'll be outside running. You might need a few more minutes to actually get your body warm and juiced up, ready to go. But yeah, it's really no more than like 10, 15 minutes.
Fair.
And then there's a pretty decent cool down where you're doing some like dynamic stretching, not really holding a position for long, do some foam rolling, get on the lacrosse ball a little bit.
Right. Okay, so two things. Settle one thing. We had a question come up, and then I thought this was right, but I'm not sure. Does your air capacity for your lungs go up if you run in cold weather because you shrink your lungs? So now, as a result, your lungs have to be more efficient with the air that comes in.
I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Maybe we should have paid a little more attention in kinesiology. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know like altitude training is big time. Yeah. So people who train up in the mountains, some of the elite marathoners or runners, they sleep in altitude tents, which is bonkers. I don't really know the biology behind it. But I know that definitely changes your oxygen capacity.
Okay. All right. It's probably that's more than just the cold.
Yeah, the cold. I don't know how that. Yeah, we can ask.
The cold hurts my face. I'm just thinking like you running outside. I've gone sledding before.
Yeah, that's fun.
And then you just end up breathing a little bit by your mouth because you keep going up the hill.
Yeah,
and then your jaw hurts.
Yeah,
this is not for me.
Well, we'll see those winter runners like on the MGT and the waterfront in Toronto, and they're like wearing ski goggles.
Oh yeah,
they're getting their
now every now and then I'll see. Well, right now it's not that cold, but I'll see somebody dressed up like a ninja and a scuba, like they're ready for anything right now. Right. And it's a very common. People are serious about their running.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that. Growing up in Houston, I think there's just judgment of anything. Okay. No, people just like if someone's running, like, hey, he's not running away from anything. What's he doing? Here, people will run at all hours of the night on Yonge Street, on Lakeshore. Like somebody will find a spot and run in it, and you'll be like, this person loves running.
Yeah.
It's very popular in the city.
Yeah, it's probably the most popular sport in the world, really. Yeah. You think about it.
You don't see it in the suburbs, though. Or like rarely do you see like anybody running around here. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Now, continuing on the theme of Kody does cool shit. So he talked about running, right? I was like, all right, cool. That's cool when I first met him. And then he dropped this tidbit, and immediately I knew, okay, he needs to be on the podcast. I didn't want to ask him a single question afterwards. I train, or this is what he said, I used to breed lizards.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a weird one. That's
pretty messed
the weird
up.
town, yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah, so it's definitely been like 10 years since we had our collection. So this is something my father and I did for...
Oh, that's so cool. What kind of lizards, just so...
So we did, we did more like snakes than lizards. We had a massive collection of things. So we, at like one point, we had somewhere to about like 15 breeding pairs of like boas and pythons. So you're at like 30 there. Plus all the, like, they're called neonats or hatchlings babies. So we're talking getting closer to the hundreds now, or getting to the 100 range. And then we had a bunch of lizards and chameleons and a couple arachnids, a couple tarantulas here and there. That's just kind of more for show. It was it was an interesting time in my life.
Jeez,
it's like,
man.
I was just having this conversation with a friend last night, and it was the first time they were hearing about it. And I kind of walked them through what it means to breed reptiles and why people do it. It is a hobby. At the end of the day, it is a pretty big hobby. And I think my father really got into it.
Yeah.
When I started, when I was like 11 or 12, he had like just this massive iguana. That's like the staple like reptile people get when they're into that kind of thing.
Must have been cool as a kid to have like your dad be, and you're like, yeah, this is our family. It's just kind of cool.
Yeah, I would literally have a dinosaur in our house. It's like massive 6-foot iguana.
A 6-foot iguana in the house.
Yeah, and they're not like, they're temperamental sometimes, and they get some
6-foot long, mad, angry iguana.
Yeah, they could give you like a nasty tail whip when they're not having it, and it just like being whipped by a belt. It hurts. It sucks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that kind of over the years, that kind of bloomed into something a little bit more, and I really think it stemmed from those early TELUS commercials. You guys remember those TELUS commercials?
Yeah.
They had all the wacky animals and everything.
The chameleon.
And chameleon.
Yeah.
That's exactly the first animal, like reptile, that we had that kind of kickstarted this little business that we had going on. So we got some chameleons. They're called veiled chameleons. They're pretty common. And we kept them separate, did my research and everything. And one day we're like, well, let's try and breed these things. Let's see if we can make some money off our chameleons.
Yeah. Put some lipstick on one of them.
Yeah. And so we had like one male, I think 2 females at the time. They're a tricky species to keep. They require like a lot of ventilation and a lot of humidity, which is hard to maintain. They love airflow and humidity, and we don't live in a rainforest here in Toronto, so that's really tough. But my father he works in the trade, so he built custom enclosures. Like for example, we never like bought aquariums like at the regular pet store. We built these enclosures so we could build them any way we wanted. So like one day we had some eggs, and the incubation, you have to incubate them just like a chicken incubator. For chameleons especially, is very long, and the species that we were keeping could be anywhere from like 7 to like 12 months.
Wow,
it's a long time. It's like a human baby. It's crazy, and depending on the species, but so it's you basically put them in, you make an incubator out of like a styrofoam cooler essentially with like a fish tank heater, and put them in their little containers and put in the closet and forget about it and set a timer essentially.
Really?
So that's kind of what kickstarted, and then we got into like reptile trade shows, and we started selling them at the trade show. Like people come here for that, and we would trade, and we get other reptiles, and then we moved on to some.
You started trading reptiles? What's that about? Tell me a little bit about
trading,
that.
Yeah. So people would be like, well, like I'll take 10 of your chameleons, and if you are interested in my boas or my pythons, and we're like, all right, well, let's get into these.
And somebody's like, oh, this many turtles, and you're like, get out of here, turtles.
Yeah, get out. We don't need a turtle. Turtles are the worst. I feel they're great species. No one should ever have one as a pet.
They live forever.
They live forever, and they're sold in like little fish tanks. And I'm not 100% sure of this, but they're supposed to live like the common turtle that you buy like in the regular pet store. Like I think they're like red ear sliders. They're supposed to live like 70 years, and they're dying at 5 because they basically grow essentially to their size of their aquarium. So they'll just stop growing. And what I've heard, I've never really looked this up. What I heard is that their shell will stop growing, but their like internal organs
still keep going.
Keep
at the
going.
pace that we should be.
Yeah, and then they basically just die within. And then you see all these like basically like keychains. You ever see those keychain ones like in Japan and stuff? They sell turtles, like live turtles, in like a keychain with a little bit of water, and they say there's nutrition in the water.
Oh no!
And they can't be living more than a week, and they're not living, they're dying for a week. Those little things, and it's brutal.
That is crazy.
Man. Yeah.
Who's buying that? Because I understand when you're a kid, people can tell you things. As a grown-up, you're like, oh yeah, there's nutrition in the water? Yeah, this is a keychain now.
Yeah.
Oh man, snakes though. I actually had a snake when I was in Texas. It was just a corn snake though.
Cool, yeah, corn snake, yeah. We had, we really catered to like the arboreal, so tree-living boas and pythons. Okay. So we had things like emerald tree boas, green tree pythons, carpet pythons. They're a little more exotic. They're very temperamental. Like you can't really handle them. Yeah. You can't, but they got some nasty teeth. So literally the first snake we got was emerald tree boa, and at the time was like, that's an advanced level reptile. Yeah. Get away from that. Yeah. They look
beautiful though.
They're beautiful, and they have the largest teeth for a non-venomous snake.
Okay.
So like a full-grown adult will something up to like an inch and a quarter.
Yeah.
Fangs.
Yeah.
That's like going through my hand.
Yeah.
if I'm getting straight, and they're nasty. They don't want to be touched.
Oh, it was beautiful though.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah, I
great.
see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could get into crazy like color morphs, and people were we weren't really into that too much. But they're like albinos and all these like crazy names and stuff like that, and they're crossbreeding and doing all this crazy stuff.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting time.
Yeah. So was this happening like at your home?
Yeah. So
How do snakes breed?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry, is that a weird question?
Yeah. No, I'll definitely get into that.
He's
So,
sitting there watching it. Yeah. He's like, is that what I'm gonna have to do? Shit, that looks complicated.
this is complicated and messy. Yeah. So we'll get to like where this happened. So at my father's house, he essentially had like an extra bedroom, and we had floor to ceiling, wall to wall enclosures.
Right.
And they don't need much. So I would say the average length for our snakes were around like 7 feet, which sounds big, but at boreal species, they're kind of just always like curled up in like on a branch, and they're not really moving much. They're nocturnal species, so they don't do anything during the day. They sit there during the day, and at night they might cruise around, especially if they're hungry. They'll start cruising around the enclosure, or during like breeding season, they're looking for a mate. And breeding in,
Before we get to breeding, feeding, you throwing mice in there?
Yeah, so we never, I can't say never, but we weren't a fan of live feeding. So like live rodents, it was always frozen thawed, which is another.
Frozen what?
So we've like frozen and then we thaw.
Oh,
the
okay.
rodents.
Okay. I thought it was all right. Well, continue.
And so we had to store frozen rodents in our house, and you're not putting that in your regular food freezer. So we have like a little freezer in our reptile room, and that's where we have a freezer full of rats. And
Why didn't you like live feeding?
well, live feeding,
You got to keep things alive.
Yeah.
More things alive.
yeah. So you
okay.
could like just go to like the pet store, like the reptile exotic store, and like go pick up a couple mice or rats and feed them. You have to do that. You have to go there and do that. But that's not really the biggest issue. The biggest issue is it could cause a lot of damage to your snake at the end of the day. So the snakes, boas and pythons, are constrictors, both of them. So they will bite, hold, and wrap.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're biting them perfectly on the face and holding them down. And as they're constricting, the rat or the mouse is scratching away like crazy. And that could cause some damage to your reptile. And everything.
Gotcha. All right. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
and the logistics behind just keeping rodents sucks. So.
Yeah. Fair,
My
fair.
snake was killed by a rat. We fed it. Like it was too big for it and killed it.
Yep.
Blew our mind. We didn't even realize that was a possibility in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
They were like, "What kind of snake is this?"
Yeah, well, you see like those like mongooses like taking down cobras and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just
Ricky
like,
Tikki Tavi.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
We were going into breeding.
yeah. So breeding as a whole, you're trying to manipulate what happens in nature as much as possible. So we kept captive bred reptiles only. We weren't like importing like wild caught species because that sucks. Imagine being out in this beautiful rainforest and next thing you're in an aquarium at someone's house. So we only kept captive bred, so these animals only knew captivity. But they obviously have like genetics that adapt to, like that are accustomed to their like native wildlife. So breeding is like a season essentially, and what you have to do is you have to manipulate like temperatures and humidity levels and feeding schedules. Every species is a little different. So usually there's like a cooling period for the females and the males, and then you kind of ramp that temperature up. All these animals were kept separately too, so that also helps in terms of getting the male ready to go. Essentially, the thought behind it was like, if I see the female every day, I might not be
bored.
I might be a little bored. I might not be ready going to. So you have to introduce them at certain points, and that's the scariest part about actually like breeding any sort of like reptile, is because males, let's say like talking about chameleons, they're like typically like twice the size. They're pretty aggressive at what they do. They like bite down on the neck and they like hold the female down. It's not a pretty sight.
Okay.
Or they'll kill them.
Man.
Yeah, so they're solo species, chameleons especially. Yeah, so the introduction phase is like very scary. And like what happens when two like pythons are fighting? I don't want to put my hand in there. It's
Like how are you gonna mediate?
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, and we had to, sometimes they're getting after each other a little bit, and we have to like kind of break them up, and you risk getting bit. And obviously I've been bit hundreds of times.
Right.
So you essentially have to like change the climates to kind of get them going. And then if it's successful, it's a copulation. All of their like genitals live they're in the same area of the snake. They basically have like one like opening near the end of the tail.
Yeah.
And that's also where they go to the washroom from and everything, and that's where their genitals are from. And they essentially
Makes sense.
that's one easy section.
Yeah.
And then so copulation occurs, and that's essentially the male and female kind of like intertwining and sharing their stuff. And then if it's successful, females become gravid, which is pregnant. Pythons, fun fact, pythons lay eggs. Boas give live birth. That's a big difference. Yeah. It's
Live birth snake.
Live birth. How many at a time?
Depending on the species, like some of the like boreal species, like the green tree pythons and emerald tree boas, like we'd be happy if they got anywhere near like 10. They were a little bit more of, I would say, like a little more exotic, a little more expensive, which means they typically have like less babies.
Yeah.
And then let's say everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Copulation occurs, eggs are hatching, you get a couple babies out of them, neonates. Then you have to raise these things, and the hardest thing, you think it's so silly, is getting these babies to eat for the first time. They live off of like the egg sac for a while, but they're so terrified of food. They're so finicky, and sometimes you have to do like some are great. They take the rodent right away. Sometimes you have to force feed, which is literally holding like the snake's head and like sliding a dead rodent like a little baby mouse into their mouth and getting it there just so they get their nutrition. And
so in the wild, those pythons would just die.
Yeah, they'd probably be bird food at the end of the day. They'd probably be picked off by other species.
Right.
It's like I don't know what the statistic is, but like with sea turtles, like all those beautiful sea turtles, you see all those commercials on them running through the water. Yeah, there's like hundreds of them, and there's probably like 4 that like actually make it to like a year or something. They're all getting picked off by birds and fish and stuff.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
We would too if there was anything like that we had to do after being born.
Well,
we can't do jack.
Yeah,
at least they can crawl to the ocean. We couldn't even do that.
Human babies are worthless. Like they're useless. Not worthless. Maybe there's some worth to them. More like useless. Yeah.
If they don't get held, it's called failure to. What's it called? Like if you don't hold a baby.
Nobody here.
Yeah.
No, really.
I know.
Failure to thrive. There we go.
Yeah.
So
failure to thrive.
So essentially, if there's a baby in like the nursery or whatever, and is abandoned by the parents, someone needs to come in and hold the baby, because if you don't do that, the baby will just die.
What?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
bananas. They have volunteers. They have volunteers in the thing that just hold babies.
Yeah, I was reading this that like pretty much every human baby is a premature baby. Like even if they are told 9 months. It's basically the woman's human body is like, I can't do this anymore. We got to get this thing out because it's never going to get out of me. So 9 months is kind of like the more or less the threshold there. And but yeah, they're pretty much all like kids are useless until they're 18 essentially. So yeah, it's definitely different. Yeah, snakes are out there, and animals are out there trying to like get their first feed in. And
did you guys have any poisonous snakes?
No, so it's extremely illegal essentially to have anything.
Makes sense,
have
right?
anything venomous.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not Texas where you can have a tiger.
You essentially need to be a zoo in order to have. You need like tons of permits and stuff like that. And people still did it. Obviously, there's
somebody tried to like trade in a chameleon and a thing for like a thing. You're like, whoa, man, easy.
It's just a regular boa.
Yeah.
That tail's rattling. It's not a regular
it's
boa.
like a drug deal of reptiles over here all of a sudden.
And there totally was like there's tons of people that get arrested all the time for illegally like importing and like taping live snakes to like their body on like flights and stuff and getting.
Jeez,
imagine being that guy and like the security.
Yeah.
When they find you and you have snakes taped to you.
Yeah. You go through that little scanner.
What's the charge? I
have no idea. Again, I'm sure it's a pretty penny.
Yeah. Can you imagine going to jail because of smuggling of snakes?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to tell people. I have to lie to them.
You'd have to say something else. You had to say something else. You had to say you killed someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw there was a picture of some guy was trying to smuggle hummingbirds, and he had these hummingbirds inside these toilet paper rolls, and he had one in each one, and he had like strapped on him like grenades.
Oh, nice.
Right. And that's how. So he got caught. He just had actual hummingbirds strapped to his chest, just in
like
little
that.
rows.
Well, invasive species is a real problem, right? And if you look at Florida, there's a very popular snake that's kept in captivity called a Burmese python. These suckers get big. They're on the bigger scale. I think they get up to like 16 feet, and they're girthy. They're not like little slender guys.
Yeah.
So people were keeping them, and then the story goes is that these things are getting way too big. I just gotta let it go.
Yeah.
And they're not native to this region, but they became native, and they're basically living in the Everglades.
This is ours now.
Yeah, and they eat everything, and they're eating people's cats and dogs and stuff, and they've like pretty much just taken over the territory down there.
There apparently used to be in Florida, like actually small coos. There were deer and other ungulates and like small piglets and stuff, and everything is just pythons now.
Yeah.
Like alligators and pythons.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, typically the split between like boas and pythons is like pythons are like old world, so they live kind of like in Asia and Africa, and boas are more new world, like South America.
Isn't it just instinctually, and like not to this is very much on subject, but instinctually every time I see a snake, it's like, oh, this thing is dangerous immediately. Like as far as I could remember before anybody had to tell me, thing looks freaky. Do you get that feeling as a kid, or did you have a different relationship growing up? You were like, oh, look at this little dude.
Yeah, not at all. Like I was growing up going camping with like my family and stuff, and everyone's out at the beach or fishing and stuff. I did like to fish, but I was like the kid in like the swamp and like scooping up turtles and looking for frogs and like trying to catch like little snakes and stuff. And I come back with my hull. I'm like, literally snakes and turtles and frogs I got. And like my parents were like, yep, go put that right back now, please. Yeah, I was into it. It's the one thing that did always freak me out were arachnids, even though I did keep tarantulas. I had a few tarantulas. They still kind of freak me out. I'm not a fan of centipedes. I don't know who is, but people keep those massive suckers that are like taking down birds.
Yeah. Seen those. Whoa, those YouTube videos are.
That I mean, eating a bird or whatever, fair enough. That's pretty scary. What scares me the most about a centipede is how fast they run.
Yeah.
That is terrifying. I don't think I could outrun a centipede.
They chase people. I'm telling you, I feel like they chase people. You're in a basement, they're coming after you. You're not going after them.
I live, I don't have a lot of centipedes here, but I don't generally kill centipedes.
Yeah.
We got an agreement, right? They eat everything else.
True.
They're top of the food chain in your house, so they take care of everything else. I just don't kill them.
Yep.
And if I put the lights on, I expect you to move.
Yeah.
If I ever get a centipede that doesn't want to move when the light is on, then you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You gotta die.
Those are good rules.
Yeah. Those are the rules of engagement.
Yeah, the arachnid people are always the interesting one. You always think like people that keep like snakes and lizards and stuff are like weird, and then you have like this subgroup of people that are like keeping the arachnids.
I like how he's like, those are the subgroups.
Yeah, you go to these trade shows, like they're in the dark corner over there. You can go pick up your tarantula.
There's a type, huh?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a type. And one of my first ever jobs was, I don't know if you guys remember PJ Pets. And it was like a big pet store chain, like I think in Canada. So I worked at a big one at like Yorkdale Mall.
Okay.
And it was one of the big ones because it had separate departments. And I was obviously in the reptile department. And I was like 14 or 15 when I got that job.
Yeah.
And so I was fairly young. And I was just like the educator. I was just educating people on stuff. But we had one dude who worked with us. And he was like an arachnid guy.
Yeah.
And he would be like bringing it in there. I don't 100% know the rule here or the law here, but I'm pretty sure they're illegal in like Toronto. It's a very specific like bylaw where like tarantulas and like centipedes and stuff are like illegal in Toronto. And he was like lived in Mississauga, and he came into work and would bring these tarantulas and like trade them on the side. So we couldn't technically sell them from the store, but he was doing his own side hustle from the store.
Yeah. With arachnids in his pocket.
Yeah. And every birthday and stuff, he would just give someone a tarantula. We're like, I don't really know. I don't want this gift.
Yeah.
It's like, how awkward is that? Like, you could like re-gift a lot of things you don't want from like Christmas and stuff or other kind of holidays, but not really a tarantula.
This guy was so in love with spiders that he thought everyone else shared it as well. He's like, yo, I am bestowing upon you on your celebration of a revolution around the sun.
Yeah.
This is a tarantula.
And in all honesty, they are the simplest animal to keep out of any. They literally could live in a deli cup, and they actually prefer like tight, small quarters. You feed them literally when you want to. Like once a month, they could take like one live cricket down.
That's
pretty good. Yeah, some species obviously differ and stuff.
It'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
You have a lot less guilt with insects for some reason.
Yeah.
That cricket probably did something.
Yeah, probably deserved it.
Probably chirping all the time.
No heat, no nothing. Just
yeah, they're some species obviously differ. Typically, people were keeping like other kind of species, so they could like just take the heat from the rest of the room and be okay. A little bit of water, a little bit of misting. Obviously, the game has changed quite a bit. Like I've been out of the game. I've been out of it for like 10 years.
the life.
A lot of like the information that I was getting back then was like word of mouth. Like we still talked. We weren't like really looking up things on the internet. We were, but we still like, oh, how'd you do this, or what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So obviously things have changed and stuff. And
You ever lose a snake just in the house? You're
yeah,
like, "Damn."
I had a couple scorpions and a couple snakes.
What? You lost a scorpion?
Yeah, I lost one scorpion. I was keepting 2. They're called emperor scorpions.
Yes,
they're
big ones.
The big ones that glow in the black light. They're pretty popular in
Yeah.
like in the pet industry.
Right.
And I was free handling them because I don't know why.
Free handling these scorpions over here.
I was like, let me just give this a
like
go.
a badass.
Right.
And I think kind of like flinched on me and it kind of freaked me out. So I kind of just like put it down and it was gone. It was like centipede speed gone.
Yeah.
Just bolted away. And yeah, I was a kid. So I was like living at home with like my mom. And I was like, I had to break the news and be like, well,
There's a scorpion in the house.
so
I don't know where
we
you.
never found it.
Okay.
I never found it. And I stayed up all night with like a black light looking in every crevice of the entire home and couldn't find it. It obviously probably didn't last too long ago.
Right.
But yeah, a couple like escapees, snakes, which sucks. We always retrieve them relatively quickly. But yeah, we like all of our enclosures. Another thing is we built all of our enclosures, so they're pretty much custom built, but they all had like a key and lock on them. Some species will just like rub up on a sliding glass and open it on their own, so we had to like lock everything up
On purpose or just like by accident?
I don't think it's on purpose.
That'd be
Is there like a
super
crafty?
scary.
Is there a crafty snake? Because do you remember the story? There was a story of this. Is why I love octopus.
Okay.
And so
octopus are.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And then so this was there was this thing where in this aquarium when they were in the morning they would show up and they would see like there'd be water on the ground. And they were running out of like lobster, crab, or something in one of the enclosures. I'm trying to figure out where they're going because you don't even know where they are. Like there's no bodies of it.
Yeah.
And so they decide to set up some cameras, I think, overnight. And what was happening is the octopus was getting out of its tank, crawling across the way, getting into the crab tank, eating crab there, and then making its way back before anyone would show up in the morning.
Yeah, they're crafty suckers. And again, I used to work at that PJ Pets, and the reptile people were right next to the fish people.
Yes.
Makes some sense.
And
If you have to make a hierarchy, okay, let's make a hierarchy of pet owners by weirdness.
Yeah.
Oh, we're down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it'll be like dogs and cats
Dogs
at
and
the
cats?
beginning.
Yeah.
Where do birds? Okay, go.
There'd be like some ferrets.
Yeah, they're the rodents, like the small rodents, I would say.
Yep.
Like
And then it starts getting funny from there.
People do keep fish. Like a lot, fish are pretty popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely dogs and cats.
Yeah.
That's why they were there at the front of the store. People.
Yep.
I would say the hamsters. Hamsters are like every kid's pretty much had a hamster at one point, or guinea pig and stuff. Maybe birds.
Yeah.
Get a little couple birds. Parrots are crazy.
Yeah.
They're children. They're like the worst
They're
thing.
children.
And then
That's really funny, actually. Parrots are children. They're just never going to get smarter.
yeah. And then fish and reptiles. And we're right down at the bottom.
Right, and then after reptiles comes the arachnids and the scorpions.
Yeah, we're like
all the way
The
in the bottom.
snail people.
Yeah, the snail people.
They are snail people, dude.
Yeah.
I thought that's just aquarium people because I used to have an aquarium.
Okay.
And so there would be recommendations to have like trumpet snails so that it would be part of the ecosystem and eat the poop and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then the problem is that trumpet snails replicate so freaking fast that you need to kill them, but they're an invasive species, so you have to kill them. You gotta crush them. So then I started reading about, okay, how do you get your excess trumpet snails out of your cichlid tank? Well, you take a piece of cucumber, you drop it inside the tank. Then they're all going to kind of like mash up into it. And they start eating the cucumber. Then you take the cucumber out with all the trumpet snails on it, and you bring it outside, and you step on all of them. And just crush them. I read all of that. I said, you know what? I'm just going to clean my tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just clean up
I don't want to be doing mass murder.
Yeah, just
every
a
2
genocide
weeks.
every time.
So funny. It's like, hey, get the snail so they can eat the poop, and then you can murder their children for it. Just like, oh, man.
Yeah, we had some pretty interesting stories when we were in the reptile world. Like I said, my father was building these like custom enclosures, and he made them like furniture, like with like oak trim and like all this crazy stuff. So we were commissioned a little bit to do like coffee tables with like snakes in them. So people had like their snake coffee table in their living room. One guy had a big house. He was living up in a suburb, and he wanted to convert his spare room into an enclosure. Wow. So you open the door and you're in the jungle essentially, with like you guys know what frilled lizards are? Frilled dragons, very similar to like the Jurassic Park guys.
Okay.
So we had a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Those are more of like a colony. You could actually keep them in like groups. Typically like one male to a bunch of females. But so that's basically what he had. And he had a whole bunch of other species. Like he had a rainforest, and essentially in his house. And we just like walk into this thing like a little waterfall. I don't know. It was crazy. It was bananas. Wow. But that was pretty cool.
That's what that man loves. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's what his dream is. It's like, yo.
Yeah.
Because I used to be in the fish game.
Okay.
Right. And so I used you could go to regular pet stores, but I think you can attest to this. The best places for you to get the stuff that you want is like very specific stores for the specific even species.
Yep.
So there's a place called Fanatics, and all they deal with is cichlid fish. I go over there. Yo, that guy is truly a fanatic about fish.
Really?
This guy loves it. If you get into a conversation with about fish, it's very hard for you to find your segue so that you could leave the store. Like now you're stuck, and he will just keep talking to you. He was talking about one of his customers that would buy like cichlid fish that would eventually like grow up like yay big, and he eventually asked like, where are you putting all of this? He said, well, in my basement. I got a tank in the basement, but I'm gonna have some renovation done. This guy changed his entire basement. Floor ceiling is an aquarium that you could walk through.
What?
Yeah. So
like the Ripley's over here.
Yeah, it's exactly. There's a little Ripley's for real. And then he's like, wait, hold on. And he shows me like a closed forum where they have I wouldn't call it the DIY, but like sort of like the build progress, and he would post pictures on this forum as things were going. He would have to excavate part of his backyard because he was extending his basement for the tanks and the filtration and all that other stuff. And then you can see all of the lumber because of putting it at first it looked like he was just going to make walls, like regular walls, like a regular wood drywall, but then they start lining it up with like thick ass pieces of it's crazy. So you put his basement. So his regular house, and you go downstairs and it's an ocean.
Yeah, that's bananas. Oh, I guess it's like no different than like someone taking like a man cave down there and like this is my sports zone sort of thing. But it's hobbies are just
crazy.
Completely captivating.
Neither one of these people had wives. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there was no speaking of wives.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, all right, just wondering. Yeah, hobbies are weird.
Yeah.
Hobbies are weird. Keep it away from a wife.
Yeah, I'm getting married next year, and I'll be scrolling through Instagram, and I still follow some like reptile people and like some like cool species and stuff, and I always be like, oh, look how adorable this little leaf-tailed gecko is and stuff. And my partner is always, no, we're not.
She's stopping that at the beginning of the inception.
She's not a fan really, like at all. I'm like, it's not gonna be a thing. It's not gonna be a project. It'll be like a couple species here and there, and like. But knowing me, it'll be, we need a bigger house now. We gotta get that addition going.
That's awesome, man.
2 years down the road, he calls Crash and Flow. Hey, you want to do a podcast inside of a waterfall?
Yeah.
In my
check out this like reptile divorcee.
I used to be like extremely afraid of dogs. Just I don't know why. Until literally, no exaggeration, just 4 years ago, because I was just exposed to so many of them. And right now, I have a certain hesitation around like lizards and snakes, and I assume it's one of those things with like exposure can go away where you can just see them as like animals, because I love animals.
Yeah.
And it's not like I dislike snakes. I'm always like, that's cool over there, on the TV.
Yeah. I wonder if it's a religious thing, right? Like snakes are always perceived as like this, like the devil or something awful and stuff, and that maybe that's like the old like conception.
But also their face, and the teeth and what they do with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't get that. I don't get. No. I'm saying I was like a scorpion. Yeah, centipede for sure. But I always thought lizards look cool.
I thought lizards look cool. I've held snakes.
Yeah.
But like generally, you know what it is? Growing up in Pakistan, there were reptiles that you had to worry about.
Yeah.
And we had them hiding in the tube lights. Like they were just all, and they would eat rodents and stuff and bugs. So like. Same thing with dogs. Back in the day, I didn't really have any dogs that you played around with. It was just like guard dogs. And now in Toronto, in my building, there's like 200. And every dog that comes in, I'm like, how's it going, buddy? And we have a full conversation. I know their names. Yeah. I know all of their breeds. Yeah. So I wonder if like with enough exposure, I'd like really warm up to.
Yeah.
And like, do they make good pets? This is the thing. That's the thing is like,
I think it's also like what you want to get out of a pet. Mm-hmm. Like you got cozy up to like a dog or a cat. And you get nap with it and sleep, like, and not really doing that with any reptiles. I think people try, obviously, but not. I don't think you're getting that level of affection. I think they're pretty binary in terms of like food. I need my stable conditions.
Yeah.
I don't need you tickling like my chin. You know what I mean? And so I think they're a little more binary in that case. I did my best. Like I did a lot of like birthday shows and stuff like that. I would just like take a few like snakes and lizards and stuff and like go to like kids' birthday shows and like little like pet things and stuff like that. So
Super cool.
Yeah.
Is there any lizard that would have some sort of connection with its owner that you could think of, or is it really they're just lizard brain?
Well, I don't. They know when things are going to happen. They definitely know like when feeding's going to happen. Like bearded dragons are like the most popular lizard out there. Them and like leopard geckos are like they're like introduction reptiles for most people. And those guys are just garbage disposals in terms of like how much they eat. So they go bananas when they know it's like that time of the day. They definitely get that sense. It's like, oh, my owner's going to open up the top of my enclosure and drop some live crickets in there and go berserk. Now, I don't think they're like scratching at the window or the pane of the glass on your enclosures to like come out and like watch Netflix with you. I don't think that's the case and everything. A lot of these reptiles now are being so domesticated that they could adapt to different like climates. So you see those guys that are out on the street with like their snake wrapped around their head or on the subway and stuff.
Right.
And like,
yeah.
and it's like you think like oh, that snake's from Africa. What's it doing? It's like it's Toronto here. Like it's not getting the right like temperatures and stuff like that. But they're domesticating a little bit, and that's happening with some of like the more popular species.
Okay. Did you do any work for Danny Green?
Danny Green?
Yeah. His basement. He's got 2 or 3.
We're talking about the basketball player?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No,
He was a big lizard, a snake guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had like 3 or 2 really big snakes and then 1 small one. All of them were named various. Like one of them was an albino, so he called him Jon Snow.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, so he had like enclosures made in his basement while he was here for the season.
Oh, really sweet. Yeah.
No word on that. No insider information.
Yeah, we've been out of that for a while, but
okay.
yeah, that's really cool. I would definitely take a look at that.
For real. Yeah. Kody, this has been informative. You've lived a very interesting life.
Yeah, just trying to keep trucking along here.
Yeah.
Learn some things. So
let us know if you ever go back into the game. Or in the life. That'd be a fun thing. We wouldn't mind seeing some projects.
For sure.
This was a blast, man.
Yeah, sweet.
Really cool. Really weird in the best way.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff that's always cool. It's like, you did what?
Yeah, and you can't really tell like who are the reptile people out there who kept all this stuff and stuff. But
So you're getting married next year. Is the honeymoon in a snake area?
Yeah, we've actually been having some conversations about this. So we're getting married in August in the city next year. I'm really late to the game, but I've been really fascinated with like Alex Honnold, the rock climber. I literally just watched like Free Solo a few days ago.
Yeah.
And
Great
the whole
movie.
Great. That was great.
One of my
Like,
favorite
you know
documentaries.
he's gonna live, and you're sweating bullets watching this thing. Like you're white knuckling, and I was like, is it gonna make it? And you just watched an interview with him like the day before, and it's fine. But so I think we're kind of like getting stoked on the idea of like doing like a van trip. Like we've never really done like those big like national parks in the U.S. like Yosemite and stuff. So that might be the honeymoon. I really want to get down to like potentially get down to Patagonia as well. Awesome. I think like the stereotypical honeymoon is like sit on a beach and like relax and chill, but I think we like doing a little adventure. We just came back from Spain. We did like 2 weeks in Spain, and we were like 6 cities in 2 weeks. So we weren't slowing down. We were there for like 2 days, 3 days, and then on a train off to the next place. So I think we definitely like that sort of like vacation, make it a little more of an adventure.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's easy. She's also a runner, so we could do our trail runs and stuff like that through Yosemite National Park and stuff, or wherever we end up going. So
true love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny thing is we've never run together.
Oh yeah?
We've never run together. She's like run 4 marathons, a very, very strong long distance runner and stuff like that too. But
Ruins the relationship.
Yeah.
Can't run with you, babe.
yeah, potentially, yeah. And I think it's just like our own space, right? I run predominantly on my own. I run with a couple of buddies here and there. And same with herself. She's more of like a lone wolf and never really comes out to the run groups and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Kody, thanks for hanging out, man.
This has been great. Thanks, guys.
All right, friends, this has been episode 208. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll be back in a week. Take care of yourselves. Good night.